Hey everyone, how are you? Thank you all for coming. As she said, my name is Ethan Berg. I am a recent graduate of Temple University as of this past May, and I'm here to speak to you about the future of commerce. So allow me to share my screen here really quick. Can everyone see it okay? Is there any problems?
Nope, can see you.
Yeah, so as I said, I'm a recent graduate of Temple University, and I started my own company called Agora. And what we've been working on is the future of commerce. So I'm very excited to come here to speak to you about it today. So just to go over the agenda a little bit, we're going to start off by talking about the current state of the retail and events industry. We're going to speak about the future interactive experience, hands-on, physical, plus also the digital coming into play. We're going to see and talk about the immersive technology and how it's revolutionizing industry after industry, and what you are able to do today to attack this and get involved in now and prepared for this future. So just to start off with the current state of retail and events, as I said, businesses have been struggling to adapt to the consumer behavior. Especially in today's world, we know that it's a huge mess with physical events, physical space, and having that is challenging and expensive. And now more than ever, it's more challenging. It's a very difficult process to have that. When it comes to websites itself, they don't necessarily offer consumers the social interaction that they like to have in person with your brand, with other consumers, as well as the experience itself. Much of it is clicking. You're moving your mouse, you're typing on your keyboard, but other than that, there really isn't too much of an experience being implemented. And as I stated before, we see physical locations closing and shuttering with very few options to browse. I mean, there's riots, we have protests, we have coronavirus and social distancing really affecting a lot of different industries, and especially the smaller mom and pop shops that we see pop up throughout all of our towns and cities. This year alone, we're expecting 25,000 retail stores to close in the US alone. And we're seeing well over than 1,000 events being canceled over the next year, as we can't have large groups gathering together. The aid that's coming in isn't enough to really sustain these businesses. That number is insane compared to years before. I'm pretty sure the last result was 10,000 being the maximum that we've seen close in the US. So seeing this number multiplied it's a scary thing. So when it comes to the future of retail, we're going to focus on three pillars today. This is what our company's actually focused on, which is, first off, the experience that one has. People want they want a seamless experience. They want to be able to get a lot of information, as well as also that visual and physical sensation that they're looking for. When it comes to connection, they want to know who they're buying from. They want to know the brand. They want to know the brand ambassadors. They want to know other consumers and their thoughts about your brand and or competitors. And when it comes to privacy, we've seen privacy in the talks a lot with collection of data. So we'll slightly glance over that, but we personally believe that when it comes to the future, you're able to curate these experiences and personalize them without overwhelming your consumers with collection of data. So what we're looking to get at the end of the day is an enjoyable experience with frictionless transactions. You don't want someone to think about it. You want them to just go through the process and close the sale. It shouldn't really be a second thought coming to mind. With the evolution of the web and technology, we've seen it start off with text-based, move towards pictures and videos, and most recently, we're seeing the immersive side really come out of the web, where you're able to interact with a 3D model as if it was truly in front of you. And that's really the most remarkable thing that's been happening on the internet, in my opinion. We're really bringing back that physical side that we all crave. So when it comes to this immersive technology, it really stems in two main areas, which is augmented reality and virtual reality. Augmented reality is the technology that will overlay the real world in front of you. So if you are in a physical environment, you're able to put information on top of that. When it comes to virtual reality, it exists in a completely different realm. It is not a real world space. It can be, but it's in essence, it's a completely virtual environment that you're in. So when it comes to the internal and external processes of one's business, in multiple different industries, both of these are it's going to revolutionize the way that you're running things. Internally, you're seeing companies start to use it for training exercises. Instead of shutting down your manufacturing and your supply chain, you're actually able to teach people hands-on within this virtual environment and allow them to test out the what's it called, when you're building a car, for example, instead of shutting down part of it to teach someone how to use that piece of the machinery, you're able to do this in a virtual environment. You're seeing surgeons You're seeing doctors using this, and it's changing a lot with training. With collaborative workspace, we're seeing virtual offices come into play, especially today where a physical environment isn't as necessary. We're seeing many teams come together in a virtual space where they're able to collaborate and work together as if they were together. And with product engineering, very similar to the training, you're able to really piece together different solutions and test it out with a team around you, whether you're together or whether you're not. And externally, it's really going to change the way that you're providing that consumer experience. With AR, as you can see with consumer engagement, you're able to let people try on shoes, try on dresses, and many jewelry, and see what they would look like in it without having to have that in front of them. And with the social interaction piece, it really ties together because people love community. You want to bring together those that care about your brand and will, continue to come back day and day again. And that's really the essence of what we've been building at Agora. So just to present a little bit of what we've been doing to attack this problem, I think it displays a lot with both pieces of the problem, which is the social networking side and the experiential side of things. So what we've built is a platform that can allow you to have meaningful in-person interactions through immersive experiences, as I said before. So we're focusing on networking, which, as I said, is a social networking piece. So the ability to speak to one another, meet other people, have true face-to-face conversations, and have multiple of them going on in one space, rather than on Zoom where only one person speaks at a time. And within our marketplace, that's where you can have and conduct physical commerce. So you can have a booth, you're able to have a 3D virtual storefront where people can interact with your products, your brand, and the people from your brand all in one space. So the networking side, as I said, it provides shared experiences. We think it's very important to get to know people through having a similar thing that you've gone through. We all know collective memories is huge when it comes to resonating with somebody else. These environments are all captivating, it's unique. There's really no limit within the virtual environment in the immersive space. And with meaningful connections, we're working on smart interactions where you're going to meet people that are similar to yourself. Similar how LinkedIn provides the ability to connect you with those they think you might like, those you might want to come in contact with. It's going to be very similar in these types of spaces. So you can curate consumers based on who likes certain activities, who likes other things that might end up liking yours as well. And within this marketplace, as I said, there's 3D visualization for your products. You're able to customize it completely so it looks exactly how you've always dreamed of it, whether that model is your physical storefront or whether it's completely out of this world design. You have the ability to do it all. And as I said, it differentiates your brand. There's no storefront that could ever be designed the same. And you're able to curate that global community that I'm talking about when it comes to the networking. You want to bring people together into your world, into your family. So just so you guys can get a brief look at what the future of commerce is actually going to look like, I'm going to just show you a brief little demo here of our space. So as you can see, it's a completely 3D environment. This is actually my teammates, who's part of my team, my developers, and you're able to have a 3D space. Every consumer, every person that enters will be able to fully customize what they would like to look like. And we're working on making that much more photorealistic compared to where it is right now. And then as you move forward, we're truly providing that 3D space. Let me fix that quickly, I apologize. Where you're able to experience those shared experiences, as I've mentioned before. This is just one example of the many things that you'll be able to do together with other people and bring them into your space. You're able to speak together. So the further you are from somebody, the quieter they'll be. The closer you are, the louder it will be. So you could have multiple conversations ongoing at once in these spaces. And when you move forward into the storefronts, allow me to just display some of the commerce side of things here. As I said, you'll have a true representation of your brand, your storefronts. You'll be able to interact directly with your products as if it's hands-on, zoom in on it, try it on, any of the above, and actually purchase it while you're directly in these storefronts. They're a fraction of the cost of a physical space. They are 24/7, so you don't really necessarily need employees to man them, but you can. And as I said, you're able to edit a cart and check out. But it's not just designed like this. We have other examples where you can have an art gallery. walk through the space, interact with some of the paintings, and actually get that hands-on look with other people inside of an art gallery type environment. On top of that, we also have underwater store, just to display, you can really have out of this world options. So for those that are looking for a way to be creative and they know that their consumers want to buy from you, I think a lot of people will resonate with the ability to display this personality when it comes to your brand and who you are as a person. So you can see here, you're able to interact completely with a boat. You're even able to enter inside of a boat and take a look around and see what it would look like in these spaces. But what you're able to do today in order to get ready for these type of things is I suggest you invest in 3D models. As you saw there, you're able to truly interact with these models, these 3D objects. And I think by investing in these, you can have it on your website, you can have it in virtual spaces such as this, and you can also utilize it to allow your consumers to try it on before they even get to your store, or before it gets to their house. When it comes to your current experience that you're offering, I would say just take a deep look and see what you want as if you were the consumer of your own brand. What are the things that your consumers are looking for? I guarantee there are a ton of companies out there working on unbelievable solutions right now. And if you have something in mind, there is definitely somebody working on a solution that will be able to help you. So I do recommend taking a look at that and taking a future vision as to what you want to provide. When it comes to your current business processes, as you saw before, it can revolutionize the way that your internal team is working or the way that you're communicating with your consumer base, with other companies, etc. And I think by evaluating these, it's important to understand what might need improvement, what might need an efficiency boost, and take a look at the immersive technologies that are out there and can provide a much more in-person feel. And lastly, build relationships. I was always taught by my father that it's about who you know. It's about your reputation, what people think of you, what you're able to do for each other. And as he was saying to me, there's always a way to find those that think like yourself. So I would say get out there, find other companies that are creating these solutions, find other people that have these dreams and these visions in mind, and I guarantee you can make these a reality. So thank you very much. I know there was a extremely short presentation, but I want to leave it open for enough time for questions, further demo, whatever you guys want. So now it is your time. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Ethan. We did have a question in the chat from Mark. So Mark said, I'm not totally sure whether this is on topic, but I truly believe that for many mom and pop businesses, the web, social media, etc., were somewhat mysterious and certainly optional. I think that changed forever on that infamous Friday the 13th. What steps do you think every mom and pop business should take to use digital tech to generate business?
I would say that they need to, if you have a tech understanding, a background with using technology, a website, your social media channels, I think you should heavily invest into using those channels to attack your consumer base. There's a ton of companies out there. Again, I'm not the biggest advocate for over collection of data, but I will say that there are unbelievable companies out there that are able to figure out who the ones that visit you the most, who are the ones that come back time and time again, and use those repeat customers to find others that would be like them, that have similar characteristics. For those that don't have a tech background, I would say find a company that can assist you with that. There are a lot of different people. There's a lot of solutions that are able to help you with things like this. I think you have to just get out there and involve yourself with the internet. It's a global community and it can make your small world a lot larger. And I forget who was that said it, but it's a 6 degrees. You're always 6 degrees away from somebody else that you need to know. So, it's about building those meaningful relationships.
Great, thank you. Mark, did that answer it?
Yeah, pretty well, but I'm not sure that like mom and pop pizza shops and, small retailers and antique stores, that might even be a stretch for them to do some of those things. But I guess they all have point of sale systems and they may not be using those well. So I guess what you're saying is develop like an electronic version of the old where you know all your customers by name and you smile and say hi.
Yeah, I would say that that's a part of it. You're definitely able to curate experiences like that where you build yourself into that space.
Yeah, I just see that being easier to do for the Paneras of the world than for, you know, Joe's Pizza Shop.
No, I definitely agree with you that there's a different level to it, different layer. But ultimately, I think everyone can utilize the current streams. I think seamless integration is probably the key behind it all. I think a lot of the mom and pop shops and the pizza shops, for example, are using things now like DoorDash, Uber Eats, and all of these applications, making it easier to access your consumers. So I think as long as everything is integrated correctly and it's working seamlessly, where an order inside of your space it comes the same way as you would online, then you're doing it correct.
Now that makes sense. Yeah, they are all using something like that for ordering, and at least, so that way they know, at least with the people who are ordering electronically, they can use that. Now for the old guys like me that still order by phone,
I still order by phone too, don't worry.
Awesome. Any other questions for Ethan?
I had one other thing too. I documented a 3D modeling program a long time ago for Bentley Systems, and it never became a product. It got incorporated. But with the companies like Autodesk and SolidWorks, the 3D modeling programs are anything but easy to use for anyone but a dedicated engineer, who's been trained to use them. And of course, if your product is designed like a car and you already have models, you can use them to build things for your environment. But are these companies working with companies like you to make, easier tools that, more people can use? Because that seems like otherwise there's going to be a real advantage for certain big guys.
I agree with you on that. I would say that right now there's definitely it's a little bit behind with the 3D model creation. I'll say it's the same thing that if you look 15 years ago, when it came to taking a picture of a product to put it online, you needed a $500 camera and expertise on editing. And now you can take your phone out and take a picture. So I'd say while we're not currently there, we're within a few years of having the ability to truly take the 3D model by holding it in front of the camera. We're seeing the newest iPad and the newest iPhones coming out with LiDAR, which is essentially going to scan an entire environment and allow you to overlay AR on top of it and recognize, height patterns, different depth to objects. So we're getting very close. For now, I would say the best way to do it would be a 3D designer. There are a lot of designers out there that will work $10, $15 an hour, and they have the capability of taking an image or a few images of your products and creating from scratch a 3D model of that. And additionally, there are a few applications out there like Clone, Qlone, that will allow you to take an image using your iPhone. It's not perfect, but it is definitely a great start, and it's something you can take with you and provide to a designer, for example, who might be able to touch it up for cheaper than they'd build one from scratch.
Well, that's great information. I don't know if you have a blog post on that or
I don't, but here, I'll type the name in right into the chat.
Good stuff.
Qlone. Does anyone else have any questions? Happy to answer any.
Ethan, I have a question about how you found the experience with onboarding users. I think one of the biggest challenges to taking everything online and virtual during the pandemic is restructuring people's behaviors from live to virtual. And so I'm wondering if you can speak to any experience you have with onboarding folks to the technology and how that's been for you.
Yeah, I'm onboarding them to my technology, you're saying, or is this in reference towards?
You're across your research, as you've been developing this out as a platform, challenges you've seen.
Yeah, I'd say that the biggest challenge we've seen so far was, we're trying to figure out how to get people to come back. I think that's probably one of the biggest problems most business owners have, and it's how do you get repeat customers, not just to come once, but especially with the Uber Eats, the DoorDashes, where you can, and the Amazons, where you can find a million companies that do so-called the same thing. It's how do you make yourself stand out? So I'd say we're still working through that, but the number one way that we found is, like-minded individuals, those that have a similar vision, those that take care with the quality standards that you might have with your personality, the way you react and interact with other people, I think is really important. And the way you display yourself, obviously, is being professional, being clean. I guess in this environment, you definitely have to have your cleaning standards top notch. And yeah, I mean, it's a difficult process regardless, but I think the more care you put into it, and the more that your consumers are able to see that you're putting care into it and that you genuinely care, not just so your business succeeds, but so that your consumer is happy at the end of the day, it can speak many volumes.
Awesome. Yeah. Practice makes perfect. Everything.
Always does.
Can I ask a quick question?
Hey,
Ethan, what's going on, man? Great job. Well, first wanted to commend you for presenting to this audience. I definitely know what it's like being a startup founder, so this is not easy. With that being said, we have, representatives from around our innovation ecosystem here. How can we support you as a startup founder, or what could our sort of greater Philadelphia startup ecosystem help you with?
Help me with. I'd say the number one thing is feedback. At the end of the day, right now, we're just looking to get people to try our platform out, see how it works, and ultimately provide any feedback, criticism, thoughts that you might have, good or bad. At the end of the day, as I said before, it's really about making our users, our consumers happy. So if we're not currently providing that, I'd love the opportunity for everyone in here to try it out so that I'm able to hear why we might not be doing that and how we can in the future.
Awesome. I would also recommend that you stop by Startup Roundtable from 5:30 to 6:30 to get feedback on your pitch from some other experienced entrepreneurs and investor types.
I'll definitely be there.
Cool.
Any other questions? I guess I hit all the points. Sweet. Good to know.
Really good job of explaining everything.
Good job. And essentially, Natalie and I were both talking a similar issue is getting, how do you help people learn all this, how to use this stuff, who are frequently, it's not what they've done all their life. It's completely new.
Oh yeah, absolutely is. But I will say that the one thing my generation might not know the most about is in-person experience and interaction. Unfortunately, we're glued to our phones, and texting, chatting, and it's very different than actually having a true conversation and a true interaction and a connection being built and made. So I think when it comes to that online essence, that's what a lot of people have lost over the past couple of months, and people really need a sign of that.
Thank you. And we did have another question in the chat from Connor. So he says, hey, Ethan, love the presentation. What do you think Agora can do to help fight issues quickly arising in the country, like unemployment? So
with unemployment, I think it presents a lot of different opportunities. I'm trying to think of how to speak towards this. I think that, everyone's seen pop culture. So I'll reference, movies are probably not always the greatest examples, but everyone's seen the futuristic movies where unfortunately you're living in a screen. I will say that we're pretty close to the point where we're able to merge the benefits from physical experience and digital experience into one. And because of that, I think there's tremendous opportunity, especially for those that are unemployed, to get involved with newer technology and the newer processes that are going to come out. As we all know, with technological revolutions, there's generally there's a switch between manual labor going more towards us doing the human side of things. So I actually gave a presentation at Princeton's hackathon last year about this point, which is the human experience. And it's about finding what are humans able to do that technology is not. And I think we're all capable of things that we can say can't be recreated. We have a skill, we have a talent of some degree. And I think it's really about utilizing those to find a way to make our human experience greater than it is today. Experience can make or technology can make things faster. It can make things smarter. But at the end of the day, you can't, teaching a system to genuinely have a converse or a connection with you, that's not something that we can currently replicate. And I think we need to utilize our own skills and know where we are necessary in society and where technology has its place.
And I'd say also, like, the beauty of having technology like this is you can stand up things like events so much more quickly too, right? Like, I think about, you know, all the setup that we would have to do for Venture Cafe in person and like the lead time you need to, you know, do things like order beer or supplies for events. But, you know, with a Zoom call or, you know, even it sounds like with your platform, it can be set up quickly enough that you could execute an event, you know, in just a couple hours where that would have taken days previously.
I mean, for smaller scale events, we'll say you can, you know, within a couple of months, you'll be able to click a button and host your own event in about 30 seconds and invite people with a code. So it's really quick how you can stand it up. Obviously, the more complex, the more custom it takes longer because you might want certain aspects that don't currently exist in it. But yeah, it's much quicker. And I would also say in terms of the unemployment, what you pointed out as well as the global community. So, you know, we're getting to a point where if there's not a job in your neighborhood, I guarantee you there's a job somewhere else. And because we're all getting interconnected, it's making it increasingly easier to go and find those opportunities. Hello, Professor Carey. It's good to see you. I don't think he notices he's on mute.
Oh, he's on mute.
Can I throw a question out there if my audio is okay?
I can hear you.
Okay, cool. Well, and so you're making me think about combining new technology with old, or new business models with old, or new tech with old businesses. One example from this whole awful COVID thing, though, was restaurants trying to survive, right? And I remember catching a story about one of them that was trying to figure out how to survive on takeout only. I think it was maybe New York City, right? So, and you would think normally that's such a small part of their business. It was a fairly high-end place, I think, and it was going to be really hard to do. And so what they did is they had pickup. So come get your meals in a bag, ready to go between like 4 and 5:30 p.m. or something like that. And at 6 o'clock, the chef got on live stream and showed everyone how to reheat each of the dishes in the best way you could reheat a dish at home, as opposed to just microwaving his fantastic food, right? That's a little off the beaten path for what you're doing, but that's maybe my point just for you to comment on. I don't know if I have a specific question, but I'm just thinking what a way to creatively combine new and old technology in a way I wouldn't have ever thought of for the restaurant business. Now you're making me think the same thing. Like, what can we use your technology for? Or I don't know if you have any examples of ways people have used it aside from what we've talked about. But to combine something it wouldn't have occurred to us before, how to illustrate something with your skills, but we really could.
Yeah, I mean, just to speak to your initial point of the way that they were able to do it through live stream, I've seen a lot of similar situations where there were restaurants that sold tickets where you would have a live stream with the chef who's teaching you how to cook the meal. So you sit there, you cook it with them, you put it in the oven, you have a glass of wine on a happy hour type thing, and then you take it out and eat it. So I've seen stuff like that too, which I agree, it's unbelievable the things people are using technology to do. And again, it comes back to the connection, that experience you're able to provide your consumers, because that's something people will remember forever, is that you did that rather than just going picking up and then eating in front of the TV like you usually do.
Yeah, what you're working on is so unique. It's how do we put that out there, right?
Yeah, so what we're currently focusing on is more so the networking events. So similar to this space right now where we have, let's say, we have 18 people in here. Only one person can talk at a time. So that's a little limiting. So I would say when it comes to that networking piece after the fact, where instead of just one-on-one, I'm speaking to everyone in here, you know, Gary, for example, would be able to look at Natalie and say, hey, how are you? I'm Gary. It's great to meet you. Meanwhile, me and you are talking. No one else hears us unless they walk up to us to join the conversation. Mark's talking to Dwight. Vino's talking to Brooke. You know, it really allows a much more immersive and interactive environment similar to the real life experience that you will have. Walking through a space, first person through your lens, you're able to look someone in the eye, you're able to shake their hand, and you're able to give them a business card at the end of it and say, it was great to meet you. Please connect with me on LinkedIn, shoot me an email, whatever it might be. And you're able to create an event in, as I said, 30 seconds. You click host an event, you pick one of the spaces we have available, and you click launch. send the code to your friends and they're on board, and or your connections, and they'll be in your space whenever they type it in.
So you're kind of doing Zoom breakout rooms on steroids, and the breakout rooms are neat, and I've seen some people use them really creatively. You're providing something even more, because we can look at each other and maybe send an invite without interrupting your presentation. Hey, I'd like to chat.
And I mean, we've been able to patch in video as well. So if there's a pitch event, for example, where you just pre-record it, we're able to patch that through so you can watch it within the space and interact with others during it. Conferences, you can set up 3D booths, lining an aisle, creating an actual conference event, trade show event right there where you can interact with the products that you're looking to buy. And I think that there's nothing that can compare to something like that currently on the market, I would say. Any other questions, comments, concerns with what we're doing?
I think Professor Carey has a
Yeah,
question.
Dwight, you're on mute. I don't think he has any idea. All right.
Professor Carey, I'm trying to unmute you. If you take your mouse down to the bottom of your screen, you should see an unmute. Oh, there you are.
There we go.
All right, can you hear me now, Ethan?
Yes.
All right. No, I was just saying that every time I hear Ethan or I see his product development, I'm always amazed because I feel like I'm racing into the future, and I live in the future. I live in the future 25 years in advance, but every time I meet with Ethan, my mouth drops open. I'm saying, he's really stimulating my thought. This is really, really, really where it's going. And he's on top of it. And thank you, Ethan. I really appreciate everything you do to stimulate me.
And thank you for joining us today. I appreciate your support.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Any questions, comments, concerns?
I have a question regarding feedback. You're asking for feedback, and I'm curious how you've built in sort of like a feedback loop into your product. Is it something where you invite people to try your demo, and then you watch them test it live? Is there maybe a recording of people using the product, and you and your team go in afterwards and sort of see how people behaved within the virtual space? Or do you have other sort of ways that people can provide feedback so that what works, what doesn't work, and what the next iteration should look like?
Yeah, I would say initially we're doing closed demos just because right now we're still working out, I'd say, some of the small kinks that we have within our product. So right now it's invite only basis, but we're starting to host events starting next week. So anyone that would like one, please shoot me an email. I'll type my email in here as well. But we're doing closed demos, and we're collecting a little bit of data just on interactions. It's all aggregate. So as I said, I don't believe in over collection of data. So anything that you'll do within our space, we don't know about unless Michael tries to friend Mark. In that case, we have to know he tried to connect with him. Otherwise, we can't connect you. So other than that, it's all anonymous. But we're collecting some data in the background to understand how people use our application. How long do they typically stay? Where do they leave or get bored, for example? And what stimulates them more than others? We also have a feedback box within the 3D space that you can walk up to, pick up a form. You'll type in your answers to the questions, and when you click submit, you'll drop it into the box that will end up in our email address. And we also have surveys that we're going to be releasing and sending out to anyone that uses it, so that they can provide afterthoughts of how their experience was, what might be better thinking about it a day later. Type in. I just send my email into the chat as well. So for anyone that would like one, please feel free to reach out. Anything else? Anyone else?
Well, Thank you so much, Ethan, for coming out and sharing your technology and your knowledge with us. We really, really appreciate your support, and we wish you the best of luck with Agora in the future, and hope it all goes really well.
Thank you, and thank you again for the opportunity.
Awesome. Well, thank you again, everyone, for joining us this evening. We have more sessions coming up. At 5 o'clock, we are going to have a panel discussion with understandthescience.com around opioid abuse and prevention education. And we have a bunch of other stuff on the agenda. So feel free to check it out on our website, which I'll enter into the chat shortly. Otherwise, thank you all for coming out again, and we hope to see you soon.
Thank you again, guys. Thank you all for coming.
Everyone. Bye.
Thank you. Good job.
Excellent.